Catherine Kumar and Dr. Margaret Bernard. They join us to discuss the legacy of their father, Ranjit Kumar, and his impact on their lives. 6 to 9 a.m. Forever Young with your hosts, Chris J. and J. Errol Lewis, this Saturday.
I have to tell you, like, I'm getting dotish, you know. When I looked at the screen and I saw the two lovely ladies that I have to interview, and I started talking.
Do you need a moment? You need a moment. All right, okay.
Good morning to Ms. Catherine Kumar and to Dr. Margaret Bernard. Sisters, who shall I speak to first? You all decide. Tell me.
Good morning, Trinidad and Tobago. Nice to be on the program.
Well, I guess since you've been selected or elected, these days you have to be careful with the word election, eh?
Yeah, you're sure right.
Good morning.
Very right.
Your family has always intrigued me, and I relish the opportunity now for us to talk about your dad, talk about your mom, talk about your siblings, because you know, up to recently, I didn't know that there were what, 8 of you?
9.
9. Well, look at that. I apologize to the one that I left out.
And as the story unfolds, you would know there are 15 of us.
Why? So, Catherine, morning. I got to know you when you were at the Chamber of Industry and Commerce. But your career started long before that, and significantly. Could we talk about that? Because in reading your resume, I see that there are several firsts in them. So, could we talk about that? You're a convent girl, yes?
I'm a convent girl, yes. Yes, actually the Chamber is where I ended my career, not started my career. Mm-hmm. Yes.
You ended your career.
I'm a convent girl together with my 5 other sisters. We all went to St. Joseph's Convent. And from there, most of us went to UB also. And really and truly, I think I developed a passion for what I chose to do in life, which is business management, accountancy, financial work. I developed that love from very early when I worked at Republic, back then, let me say the correct name, Barclays Bank.
Mm-hmm. Barclays Bank, DCO.
For 1 year before going to university.
Mm-hmm.
And I have never regretted that. I actually did sciences at school, and I had signed up to go to UB to do sciences, but that's so boring. Sorry, Margaret. So I'm glad that I chose what I did, and yes, I would say that God has blessed me significantly. I don't take credit. I think it's all God's work in my life, that He has taken me on the journey that I was taken on. Mm-hmm. And I had opportunities, and in life, opportunities, if not met by someone who's willing to give the opportunity a chance and to put the effort into it, then the opportunity goes wasted.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
But I would have to say that I gave all my opportunities a good chance, and they mostly worked out for me. I moved up quickly within my first organization that I went to work. My boss was going away to complete his ACCA, and after 3 months, he left me in charge of a finance department of a large insurance company. I couldn't believe it, but I made it. And from there, I went on to become the chief financial officer at another large insurance company. In between there, I qualified as an accountant, became certified, and became a fellow of the accountancy profession. And I suppose from working at that company, Algico, which I worked at for a very long while, I got exposed to a lot of people and a lot of opportunities. And I always made use of the opportunities, not letting any pass by, really.
Mm-hmm.
And one of my great opportunities came when I remember going to my boss and asking, why did I always get to act as the CEO, but I can't actually become the CEO? because I'm a woman, you know. I'm getting all these credits of the great work I'm doing, and so why do they keep bringing somebody then over me all the time? And he gave me very good advice that I've shared well so many times now in all the speeches that I give. He said, Catherine, you are very well known within the insurance industry. But outside of the insurance industry, can you go home tonight and pick up the phone and call the CEO of Massey or the CEO of Republic Bank or one of those large organizations? And I was like, no, me? How come? I don't know them. They're not on my level. And he said, yes. Well, then you need to get to that level if you want to become the CEO here. And I took that advice and I ran with it. And I went and I joined the American Commerce. And when I joined the American Chamber of Commerce, it was a lot of great work we were doing for the business. The AmCham had become very, very, it was new, so it had become very, very much an organization people wanted to be part of and were willing to come and give up their talent and give up their skills. The committees were very active, and so I got involved in committees and everything. And within a short period of time, I had become the president of the American Chamber of Commerce.
First female.
I mean, you know, 3 years back, if you had told me that, I would say impossible. There's no way. So I think that was my really first break. And yes, as the first female president of the American Chamber of Commerce. And after that, it was everything else that went ahead. First managing director at another large bank, RBC, RBTT in those days. First female inspector of financial institutions at the central bank. We took over regulating the insurance companies. So it was really a lot. But now as I talk about this as the first this and the first that. But back then, it was really for me wanting to fight for women to get their rightful place in society in Trinidad and Tobago, to be accepted as being able to do as good as or better than, in some cases, the men around us who were getting the positions that we were not getting, to be recognized for what we are and who we are, and not just, oh, you're a pretty girl, and when you go out somewhere, that's all they have to talk to you about, and you get fed up after a while, and it's like, move away from me. I don't want to talk about that. Can't be talking about something a little more meaningful. I mean, is this what you're going to go up to a man and talk about, how handsome he is? No. But then why talk to me about that, right? So, it was a great opportunity for me to get women on the front page.
You were able to accomplish all of that. Who was the driving force behind the accomplishments in the family? Who was the person who said to you in the family, you are growing up in a society that is evolving, and I want to see you all become this or that? Who was that person in the family?
Well, I suppose perhaps Daddy was mainly, because it's so strange, as an Indian from India, he had girls. He had a whole bunch of girls before he had his boys, right? It was 5 of us before a boy came along. And generally, Indian men in particular, want their sons as, to be born first and so, right? But Daddy did not in any way look down on us because we were female or girls or so. And he pushed us and pushed us and pushed us, and he wanted us to do very well. And he stayed there with us every evening. I mean, Margaret will tell you, we'll sit around this big table because, like I said, there's so many of us, and doing homework with each of us and driving us and pushing us. I mean, there was never a thought, I think, in any of our minds that we would go to university. That was just, it's just something that you would do after you finish school. And as a matter of fact, when I worked for the 1 year before I went to university, he was very disappointed because he was afraid that then I'd get excited about the work life and not want to go on to university. So he pushed us to be women who would be accepted, recognized, have ambition, want to go places, and really worked with us, literally worked with us to get us to that stage, show us the value of hard work. Daddy would do things like Daddy would come and pick us up at school. Daddy's the one who would go and buy uniforms with us. Anything with school, he pushed us for. Our class is going somewhere, we're going to Barbados, we're going to Tobago, well, we are going because the school is going. But if maybe some other friends are going, it may not have gotten to go so easily, but because it was school. And he really inspired us, I would say. But not to leave out my mother. My mother My mother had always been a homemaker, right? She never really worked, and with so many of us, where would she get time to cook? Anyhow, she was pregnant every year. But mommy showed us the part of what I would say we could probably all credit ourselves with, of not becoming so into ourselves that everything is about me, 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 me. We had to share a lot because we share in bedrooms, we share in everything. I mean, there's a lot of girls who even sharing clothes. And she taught us about love and about giving back. And that giving back, I mean, just recently, last week, or no, maybe 2 weeks ago or so, we celebrated her birthday. She's deceased, but in memory of her. And one of the things that, was brought back is nine of us in a house. Where do you find room to, and we're not living in a mansion, where do you find room to go and invite other children who are in the orphanage into your home
Sounds
and let them come
familiar.
and spend the whole summer with you? Let them come at Christmas time. It didn't matter where we had to sleep, who would sleep outside in the couch, or we would be two on a bed or three on a bed. And she taught us that about giving back, always helping others. And I'm convinced in my mind that certainly academics alone don't take you to success.
Hmm.
But these are other softer values where you learn about caring and giving and wanting to be the best and how to help others. It's not about me, it's about how I can help others. And mommy really, really instilled that in us. And I'm just so thankful that she was there to do that and that she wasn't out working and busy and didn't have time to do that for us. So I would say thank you, God, again. A fantastic combination between mommy and dad.
I want to switch to Margaret now and talk to you. Can I call you Margaret?
Yes, sure.
I have a
Yes,
Margaret
yes,
too,
yes.
eh?
I'm comfortable with that. Yes.
Margaret, at what level did you come into the family? Are you before Catherine or
I'm,
after?
I'm the third. Catherine is the second.
Oh, you're the third.
I'm
So
the third,
did she beat you up?
yes.
Did she beat you up when you were growing up?
No, we were actually almost like twins when we were growing up. Between Catherine, myself, and the next sister after me, Annette, the
Yes.
three of us, we did everything together. It is so wonderful to have so many sisters. And at the time when you're growing up, maybe you don't appreciate the sisters enough because you're fighting about this or that. But as you get older, wow, that I think is the greatest gift that you can get from your parents, sisters and brothers, who,
Yes.
especially if you stay close together as we did.
Now, your career has taken you into the environment of IT and the digital environment and so. But in convent, who was your influence to say, that's where I want to go? Who influenced you like that?
Actually, one of the nuns who was a teacher, who was my math teacher, I always loved mathematics.
Oh
My
dear.
father loved mathematics
Oh
so
dear.
much, and he instilled that in everybody, in all of us.
Mm,
And so I focused on mathematics. But you know how important it is, the math teacher that you have at school,
yes.
especially at secondary school, is such a big part of whether you like mathematics or not.
Hmm.
And Sister Angela, the sweetest woman you could ever find, had so much patience. You could ask her the same question over and over, and she would explain it over and over. And I think she was able to draw out in a lot of us that love for mathematics. So naturally, that's what I went on to do at university and reached right up to PhD in mathematics. Computer science in those days wasn't as well established. And so at UWI, where I started to work after I finished a PhD, uh, it was a single department of mathematics and computer science. And in those early years of in the 80s, those early years of computing, it was such an exciting time. To be able to get the computer to do anything was amazing.
Mm,
And so I just naturally gravitated to computer science, as many persons who older persons who in computer science started off really in mathematics. And I have no regrets. Just like Catherine said, I have no regrets at all about the career I made at UE and in computer science.
Catherine,
You make
Catherine
a
told me.
contribution. Mm-hmm.
Catherine
Yes,
told
ma'am.
me that you're the one with all of the information about Daddy. So I have to ask
Wow.
you. I have to ask you about your father. Tell us where he came from in India.
Right. He was born in India in Rawalpindi, and after the partition, that area became part of Pakistan. But he left India very early. He was about 5 years old. He left, he and his mother. He had no siblings, no sisters, brothers, just himself and his mother. And they migrated to England. They stayed with, at first they stayed with an uncle there, and then they were on their own. And so he actually grew up in London, went to school in London. He went to school at St. Clement's School, which many people know the name from that song, Bells of St. Clement's. He went to that school, and then at a very young age, he was 16 or 17, he got accepted into Imperial College of Science and Technology, and he did a degree in engineering at that university. And then later on, just to continue on, he when he graduated, he did go back to India for about 2 or 3 years with the Imperial Police Service in India. And he's written a book, Thoughts and Memories of Ranjit Kumar, which is not the book that we wrote more recently. And he talks a lot about that period in his life because he was one of the mounted police that patrolled the border with Afghanistan. And because Afghanistan is in the news so much over the last decade, it's just interesting to visualize him there protecting that border.
Wow.
And then later he came to, in 1935, he came to Trinidad. 1935. He was just 22 years old, 22, a young man. And he came to Trinidad with a business idea. He brought the first Indian film to Trinidad, Balajoban. We've written a lot about that in the book that we wrote.
That's
We
East
wrote a
meets
book
West?
Called, put it up, Ranjit Kumar, Bridging the East and the West.
Yeah.
It's written by Professor Bridget Berriton and Dr. Primnath Guptar. Primnath is a person who did his PhD research on Indian identity in Trinidad.
I have to
And
ask.
he
Ask
spoke
you.
a lot about that film. Yes, go
Errol?
ahead. Sorry.
Yeah.
Errol, if I could,
Go
if I
ahead.
could just interject, I think something important for us to also know about Daddy is that he left India because his father died when he was 10 months old, right? And it was just he and the mother, and the uncle had gone to England, so the mother followed the uncle. But he grew up there, and then when he qualified at age 18, he could not get a job in England. He tried. As a matter of fact, in his writings, he says he would have loved to have stayed in England and lived there. He grew up to love there. But he could not, and that is what took him back to India. And even, so he had two things: prejudice, being an Indian, and his young age, right? And then even when he went back to his home country, India, he could not get a job either because it was British rule. So the same thing followed him, prejudice and age. And that's how he ended up going into the police force, because that was the job he could have gotten. He wrote the exam, he passed, he got top marks. And then they downgraded him down to the second place because there's prejudice again, right? But he got into the police force because of that. So you would see that throughout Daddy's career, again, Daddy did what he needed to do to get by and to survive. It wasn't a matter, well, I have an engineering degree, what am I going to the police force for? And he was proud to do that. Yeah.
As an engineer, he has left a landmark in this country that a lot of young people do not know. exists because of his work, his design, and his
Yeah.
plan. Could we talk about that?
Yes.
Margaret?
Yes, yes. Well, I think he's best known as the man who built Ryson Road. In 1937, after he had sort of come out of the film business, he took a job as a city engineer in Public Works, which is like our Ministry of Works and Transport. And one of the big projects he worked on was the Ryson Road project, which was a small off-road leading to a pump. And he built the first road, dual road meaning traffic in the two different sides of the road in Trinidad. And that is in the late 30s, between 1937 when the project was stopped in 1940 with the oncoming war, with the World War II. But that road has stood the test of time. It was on reclaimed land, and the road has stood up. In his book, and also Professor Brinsley Samru, who knew him well, talks so much about the technology of how the reclaimed land was done using the mangrove growth. But the road has stood up and has become a real link road, linking, all of Port of Spain out to the west and out to the east. And so we're very proud of that. In fact, we had at various times have tried to get the name of that road changed.
I think so.
Yeah, because people know it with his name associated with it. So we wanted to call it the Ranjit Kumar Avenue or some such name.
Boulevard.
Or Boulevard, yeah, some such name. But
Yes.
I think you need somebody to drive that process. And I guess we talked about it many times, but didn't put the energy into really trying to get it done. But
And
apart from
Errol,
yeah,
it's really
go
to
ahead.
ask who is Ryson?
That's the
No.
point.
And I think Trinidad and Tobago does not know who Ryson was. So Ryson worked in the Ministry of Works, an Englishman who came here. As a matter of fact, not a very liked person. He literally caused the water riots that they had back then.
I could well imagine.
And because a little small piece of road, as Margaret said, was named after him, and I mean that was just a really and truly nothing that we know Ryson to be today, And they considered this to be a continuation of the road, but it was really a whole new road with new technology, nothing that existed before. Even the technology that Margaret talked about, right? That knotted mangrove that was used as the base. That technology afterwards was used by the Americans when they were doing the Churchill
Roosevelt Highway. Yeah.
So successful it was, And it is really his ingenuity, his creativity and everything like that. And the persistence, again, as Margaret said, during the war and all the upsets that they had to be able to complete that. And honestly, we have tried, and I really think that, now that we're in the process of renaming roads and big highways and all of that, and trying to get our Trinidad icons' names onto these roads, that it is time to reconsider whether we really want to continue to carry that road with the name Ryson, that people don't know who Ryson is. And if they do know what he is, it is not a very good legacy that we want to carry, So again, I have made some appeals along the way, but without success.
Well, once we keep talking on the legacy series and we tell people who the right son was, they will name the road after the right son as against Ryson.
after R-I-G-H-T.
It is very sad that we have continued to keep as examples before our growing population some people who have really not contributed positively to the development of the country. And
Exactly.
and your dad, in his way, and I'm glad we're talking about this because we are listened to all across the world right now. We have listenership in South Sudan right now listening to us. So
Okay.
I'm going to say it again, loud and clear. It is important for us to take a look at some of the places that we hold up as reminders to our population and rename them. You know,
Yes, let the young people know. Let the young people know about these people. Teach this in schools. I mean,
absolutely.
we have people to be proud of. Yes, Daddy was not born in Trinidad, but somebody who came to Trinidad when he was, how old, Margaret? About 25 or so when he came to Trinidad.
He
You
was
know,
22. Yeah.
22.
22, all right, died at age 70 and lived in Trinidad from 22 to 70 all his life, you know,
Hmm.
gave of his blood, sweat, and tears to this country, because I'm sure we'll talk a little more about his political life here.
Yeah, we
I
had to
mean,
talk
it was
that.
the first Indian movie that he brought to Trinidad and Tobago. Indians were so glad. Took that to Guyana. His immediate involvement in politics and what he did for the people, his great engineering works, whether it be the Hilton Hotel, FedChem, you name it, right? And all of these things come together. I know that the Parliament, on the Parliament channel, they've been running series of different people over and over. But we need a little more than that. We need to
Yeah.
get to the schools, let people know about the icons. Maybe more programs like this throughout, not throughout, so that people would listen and want to know more and be interested in our history. Daddy was a Trinidadian.
True
Trinidadian.
Trinidadian. Now I want to ask you, Margaret, about his movement in the politics, because he was a butler, right? Yes.
Yes, yes. Actually, that's where I
Only at
wanted
the
to
end,
start off. At the end, yes. But recently, one of the ships between Trinidad and Tobago was named the APT James,
Yes. Fargo.
and so right, so people now know that name very well. But he was one of the persons in the Butler Party when my dad joined that party and won his seat. And so in our book, for example, we have a picture with him, and his name is mentioned and so on. So as soon as we heard that, oh, that was going to be called APT James, it clicked to us that this was something that we could identify with, that he was a colleague of my dad. Yes, so the politics. So he got into politics in the early 40s, and he went up first as an independent in the 1946 elections, and he won the seat in Victoria. We're told from history that he won by such a big landslide, as an independent. And there's so many stories we hear from people all around who meet us, who sometimes they hear it from their parents, of what an impact he had on persons in that time. We always hear the story of him riding on this white horse, and he had a demeanor about him that just commanded respect. He was an extremely good debater. He can speak very well. He had a nice British accent, and he can speak really, really well. He's able to stand on the platform and really command respect in the way he spoke. And so he won that seat in 1946. And then for the 1950 elections, he joined with the Butler Party, and he went up, and I think it was either 6 or 8 seats the party won, but they were not in government. But one of his big contributions of that time was his move to constitutional reform for adult suffrage. At the time, there were a lot of limitations on who could vote.
Yes.
And one of the things that he spoke about, and we have in the book again, is his move to in corresponding with England, with the office in London, to be able to remove the requirement for language tests. because in order to be able to vote at that time, you had to be able to pass a language test. But in many of his persons who he was dealing with, especially the Indian community, the rural communities, many of them could not, they could speak English, but they couldn't speak it to the level where they could pass a test on it. And one of his big accomplishments was the removal of that language test, so that anyone over 21, without having to take that test, could vote. So that was the beginning of really mass electorate, you know, without any condition.
Universal adult suffrage.
Yes, that's right.
Who were his contemporaries in the parliament at that time? Do you remember, like Ashford Sinanan and people like that? I mean, I know about Butler, and I think Chankamaraj would have been around at that time, and I think Patrick Solomon was around at that time.
Patrick Solomon was around at that time, yes. Yes, I'm trying to get the names of some, so I'll give you a correct thing.
While you look for it, let me just remind all listeners that we're listening.
McLean,
yes.
Movement,
yes.
McLean,
yeah.
APT James that I mentioned. Mitra and Ashford Sinanan.
Right.
Albert Gomes. Roy Joseph.
Yes.
Peter Bryan. Those were some of his contemporaries.
Yes, yeah. And those are names that will evoke a certain kind of memory among the older population, because those were people who were very, very articulate, people who were very active, and people you could look up to in the politics. Yes?
Yes, that's right.
yes. Those are names that are all well known and respected, yes.
I haven't heard the name Pope McLean for a long time.
Yeah. And as Margaret said, you know, he carried his own when he was in the legislature, legislative council, and I think that's what a lot of people, when I meet them today, you know, well, the older folks, really older folks would talk about. And, you know, when he spoke, he really commanded the audience, and people would listen to him. And I think that's how he was able to move the people to vote for him. And really and truly, you know, I mean, both Victoria County and Caroni North, which were the two seats that he won overwhelmingly. Again, you know, you go places, and I mean, I remember I went down to the country sometime, and there's a village named after him, Ranjit Kumar village, and in Williamsville. And you know, when you hear the people talk about that, you would swear, is this the same person? You know, it's like he walked on water for them, because as Margaret said, he did so much to open up the country. A lot of places had no electricity. He would go personally and work for them to get electricity, get water, get roads, you know, make their life more meaningful. And they felt before that no one was really looking after their interests. And there was a man, not meaning to concentrate on the Indians, but I mean, you know, it was a substantial part of our society, the Indians. And here was a man from India coming to look after and provide for them and their needs, and they really looked up to him. And you know, if you go anywhere now and they get really older, well, by now they probably just died away, but you know, a few years back, and you hear them talk about him, it is really amazing. And you know, even in St. James right here, we only have to go down to the country. We have St. James where they wrote Ranjit Kumar Street in St. James named after him when he was in legislative council, and for the work that he did, you know, in that area. And so yeah, really a great involvement in politics. And I remember one of the things I read in when Daddy wrote his first book, as Margaret said, we wrote the second one. The first book, which is called Thoughts and Memories of Ranjit Kumar. And in that book, he actually said, because I mean, he had become a big politician, he said, I never had a desire to be a politician. As a matter of fact, I left India because politics is what It's too much to go into that, but politics was what really drove him out from the police force. All right. And, they took sides on an incident that happened and stuff like that. And he was unfairly treated. And that's why he left the police force. So he came to Trinidad, not thinking he coming into politics, thinking he's bringing this Indian movie to Trinidad as an investment to eventually go back to India, never with the intention of staying here. He was married by then in India. He left his wife because, he was going to come back home, right? And came here and so immediately got involved, and the people just held on to him and didn't want him to go back. So that's when his wife eventually came here. But he said, so he left India to get away from the politics. He said his ambition was to be a police officer when he believed in the British service, right? All right, which he eventually became a public officer, to be financially independent, which he eventually did, and ensured that all of his children were financially independent, to give people honest public service. And oh gosh, Errol, that is so much what is lacking today.
Yes.
In our politics and in our public service. Honest public service. It was not about making them money. It was not about what contract I could get something on. It was honest and upright public service. And that's what, again, a lot of people talk about, His only care was, what can I do for you, right, the citizen? How can I help you? It's not about me, but it's about you. And finally, his other ambition was to bring up a family. And he did that. And I would have to say he did that very well. 15 of us, after his wife came to Trinidad, they bore 6 children here in Trinidad. And then after that, Margaret mentioned before, that when India, the town that you lived in, we are split, and it actually became part of Pakistan and not India. And Pakistan being Muslims and they being Hindus, that his family, who was quite a wealthy family in India actually, right? They were all over the place, you're not even sure where they went. His wife's family, again, another very wealthy family, had to leave everything that he had and go stay in a hotel in India, in Delhi. And therefore the wife went back at that point in time with the 6 children to see what was happening with the family and how she could help out. All with the intention of daddy following her, but politics got into him, and the people didn't allow. And the people didn't allow. And the war came also. Yes, So he never went back, and he stayed here and made his home with his 9 other children and his new wife.
9 other children and his new wife.
Errol, I would say, he's had great impact on Trinidad and Tobago, but I think maybe a really important part of that impact is the children that all of us, who he instilled in us the idea of service the country. And if you look at our lives, we're all now in 60s and
somewhere around there.
Yes,
we don't call age, Margaret, we call us girls.
All of us have had careers in which we really feel that we want to contribute. I know for myself at UWI, for the 30-something years that I was a lecturer there in computer science, I think your biggest impact is what you instill into your students, how you speak to them, how you help them to build a sense of identity and purpose. And when I look around at all my brothers and sisters, the same has happened. Every single one of us, 9 children, every single one of us have at least up to a bachelor's level degree. Most of us have a master's degree. 3 of us with PhD. Catherine just got honorary PhD doctorate through UWI. My sister Annette is lecturing in economics at a university in the States. She and her husband migrated to the States. My other sister is lecturing at UWI with a PhD as well. Just recently retired. All my 2 brothers who are engineers. My other sisters, most of them have gone into finance. And the point I'm making is that we have all found ourselves through the careers that we selected in positions where we can impact and make change and positive change. And I think he's also, because he wasn't born here in Trinidad, he also gave to us a sense, a global sense,
Ah,
that we're not just a citizen of one tiny little country, but we're citizens of the world. And our impact could be felt in India, it could be felt in Africa, it could be felt in Australia. I'm just thinking about one of my nieces right now, Dr. Rebecca Shirley. She works with renewable energy. She's in her she's in her mid or early 30s,
Yeah.
and the impact she has had. She's based in Kenya, in Nairobi. She completed a PhD at University of Berkeley in California, and she works with an organization that is promoting renewable energy in Kenya, but also all around the African continent. And recently, at the last energy um, conference,
26. Yeah.
she was there, this young girl, speaking on the same platform with all the leaders of the world. And it just made you so proud to see her.
mm-hmm,
But that didn't come by chance.
mm-hmm.
That came through my dad passing on to us, that, and we pass on to our children
Yes.
the legacy that we are global citizen, and that our lives are ready to impact the lives of others positively.
Let me remind our listeners, we're listening to Isaac 98.1 FM, The Promise. The program is called Forever Young, the Legacy Series this morning. In the Legacy Series, Catherine Kumar and her sister Margaret Bernard talking about Ranjit Kumar and his influence and impact on Trinidad and Tobago, and really speaking, on the world. I want to ask you, Catherine, I know you had a little, it wasn't a little, you know, you had a little brush with some health issues. Can we
Oh.
talk about that?
Yeah, sure. Yeah. I guess one could say it was little because it did not end up in it did not end up dread, right? But yeah, so back in 2015 I had a brain aneurysm. Again, one of the things that we may not have said so far, but God is really part of our Kumar family life.
Yes.
We have made him part of our life, and we give all our praise and all our glory to him for everything that he has done for us. We meet together as family and pray, once a month for unsaved members of the family and stuff like that, right? But anyway, so I had been having a little headache and kind of was worrying me, but it wasn't headache to this extent to say, well, okay, I gotta go to the doctor or nothing. And I'd mentioned it to my GP once when I went to her, and she said, Catherine, you've mentioned this a few times. Why don't we just go and do an MRI and an MRE? Just for go. I don't think it's anything. I don't think it's anything, but let's go. Well, again, God directed, and I always call her my angel, because she sent me to do that, and they found the aneurysm. And I did, immediate surgery, because the whole thing about an aneurysm is you don't know how long it will stay before,
Right.
how long it will stay before it ruptures, right? And therefore, once found and it's over a certain size, you just take it out. Well, when I say take it out, they actually block it up, right? Because for listeners for aneurysm, if you don't know what that is, it's really a balloon, literally, for me to describe it in layman's terms, is a balloon that is formed in your blood vessel, in my case, in my brain. And that balloon, if you think of when you were small and you had balloons and we used to blow the little, smaller little balloon,
Chick, chick.
right? And if you just stick a pin, how it will just pop so easily.
Mm-hmm.
And literally that is what it is, so that could just pop easily, and then the blood will be flowing all out through your brain, and that's the end of you. So anyhow, so they did that, and while doing that, they found a second aneurysm. So a month later, I went back and I did the surgery for the second aneurysm. But again, God has given us such great technology, you would not believe. You do 2 brain aneurysms, not a cut in your brain anywhere, all right? They literally go through your blood vessels all the way up to your brain, send coils up a tube, fill the balloon that is there with coils, and then put what they call a stent to sort of block it so the coils can't come out, and then that eventually dies away. I mean, just really, really amazing. But that was an eye opener for me at that point in time. I had been at the chamber and going, just working. And my daughter was already away studying, and therefore I could have almost given 24 hours of my time to my work. And I kept saying, well, it's time for me to retire, time for me to retire. And every time I said that, it's like, a president will say, well, no, I'm a new president, come in, you can't retire and leave me now, right? And I kept on and on. But once that happened, I remember Dr. Judith Henry coming to look for me at St. Clair. And she said to me, Catherine, God still has work for you to do on this earth. And that's why he did not, take you now, right? And that was an eye-opener for me. And he still had work for me to do. And I felt convinced that the work that he had for me to do was not to continue in the business world and in the chamber and so. And therefore, I gave them a full year's notice that I will be retiring in a year's time. And, I'll help them find someone to replace me, which we did. And it was time for me to move on from that and to be able to get a little more involved with my church life and what I wanted to do, for people and help people a little more directly and give back a little more directly and everything like that. And that was a turn for me. I'm healthy. I've been healthy since then. I mean, you go and you do the repeat angiogram to make sure, nothing is there and that it's still blocked up very well and stuff like that. And I must admit, every so often when I get a bad headache, I do get a little scared, but I don't let it, take me down and worry me that much. So yeah, I thank God for the health he has given me subsequent to that. And everything, has a purpose, has a meaning. And maybe the purpose of that was really to jolt me. And the way I've been involved in my career, I really needed something to jolt me, to jolt me out and to do something different. And that did jolt me. And yeah, made me realize also, I need to get to know my daughter a lot more, spend more time with her. Thank goodness you have Facebook, you have all these different apps that you could talk to them even though they're overseas. And I mean, things were so bad for me when my daughter was away. I had a little sign up by my computer for 7 o'clock, because I was in the office at 7 o'clock, call Sian, right? To make sure that I the day didn't go by and I called her, right? But now I could spend hours and hours with her, and we do that in the nighttime, after she's finished dinner and everything, and we spend hours. It's just a different life.
Yes. Chris, I know we have.
I want to put in a little promo here, if you don't mind, because, and I know Radio Isaac is running it also. I'm the chair of our fundraising committee at Faith, Hope and Love, the church that I go to, and we have bought a piece of land. We are closing on that piece of land. You're laughing, right? We are closing on that piece of land soon, and we are raising funds to close on that land, and then of course we have to build a church. So please, you all go on Faith, Hope and Love website and Facebook page, and we also have a GoFundMe. Come support us.
Pastor Don, you're getting your ad there, and I'm done with that. Chris.
So once again, I'll just invite Errol to share with our listeners who we are speaking to and who we are speaking about. We have some people in a taxi.
Oh my gosh.
Interesting interview, but we didn't hear who we're speaking about.
Okay, so let me say it again. I'm speaking with Catherine Kumar and her sister Margaret Bernard, the daughters of Ranjit Kumar, one of the predominant political figures and developers of our road system in Trinidad and Tobago. Things that we did not know, we're finding out now. Chris, I know we have some WhatsApp callers, people on WhatsApp.
Yes, we have some messages via WhatsApp. Good morning to you both, and welcome to the Forever Young program. We have Beverly, who says, well, she's not in South Sudan at the moment, but she says, I remember Miss Catherine from RBTT, RBC back in the day. So she remembers you from then. And we want to invite our listeners as well. You can call us now, 628-1981, 622-1981. Someone was saying that is so true. Trinidad is made up of immigrants, so they have contributed to the nation. We applaud him for his contribution. 628-1981. We do have a call.
Good morning, you're on the air. Good
Good
morning.
morning. We are hardly hearing you though. We're sorry about that. We are not hearing
We're not
you
hearing
clearly.
you. You'll have to call us back.
We do apologize for that. We're going to try again. 6281981.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Hi, could you turn the volume down on your radio, pretty please? Good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning.
I love that interview. Very, very interesting interview. God bless. I love it. Bye.
Bye-bye. Continue to send your calls 6281981. I know we had some comments via Facebook Live as well, as we are streaming live on Facebook and YouTube, but we head to the phone lines once again.
Good morning.
Good morning, Samson and calling. Good morning, Chris and Uncle Errol, and
morning.
to your guests. I am truly, I don't know what to say, I'm captivated by the story. Truly captivated. And I think I am one who could run the campaign to have rice and renamed. It must be done. It must be done. I think, and I would want to give you a number, I name a number, no, but off here, because I am politically associated and with the person who is responsible for Woodbrook. So I think this is a must. It must be done. It must be done.
Give your name.
Through Errol.
Give
Yes.
your name through Errol.
I will. I will.
Let's take your name off air.
So we're going to take
will.
some information. Stay on the line for me, all right?
Okay.
Okay.
Thank you.
I'm-
Thank you in advance.
I really think it's important for us to do that recognition. I've been talking about Kwame Ture, Stokely Carmichael, and his investment in the world. And a lot of young people going to school in Trinidad don't know. A lot of people going to school in Trinidad don't know Ranjit Kumar's name. We need to keep those names alive, because those are the people that created the infrastructure, both educationally and otherwise, that we now stand on. And I'm glad that we're getting that level of response. I'm glad. So we have the name. Yes.
Yes, we have the information, all right? We have
I'll
the
pass on the information to you later on.
6281981.
Good morning, you're on the air.
Good morning. I just a question on that. Is it Ranjit Kumar is the man name?
Yes.
Isn't there Ranjit Kumar Street in St. James?
Yes, it is. It's named after him.
And it's the same person.
Okay, thanks.
You're welcome, sir. 6281981. You're locked on to Isaac 98.1 FM, the station of promise. The program is Forever Young. We are also streaming live on Facebook and YouTube. We head to the phone lines once again.
Good morning.
Good morning, welcome. Ooh, we lost
Oh, we
that one.
lost that call. Yeah. Listen, ladies, you understand the interest we're generating here with this. And it is not because it's your daddy. but really speaking, it's your daddy. And I think it's important for us to put those benchmarks in place. It's important. Why have you spent all these years at UE and we have not seen a building named that? Let me stop this thing.
We have another message. We have another
And
message.
there's a precedent in terms of the renaming. A couple of years ago, UE itself renamed Milner Hall to Freedom Hall
Yes.
because a number of students agitated for it. And when they researched and found out who Milner was, he wasn't a nice guy at all.
At all.
Yeah.
He wasn't a person you wanted to have something named after. And we took the bold step of renaming that Milner Hall of Residence the Freedom Hall. So you have a precedence there in terms of when you understand the person who it's currently named after, what are you trying, what is it showing or saying?
Yeah.
And rename it.
Listen, I said it somewhere else and I'll say it this morning, so I'm going to put it on the record. The person who we named Lady Young after was an horrible lady.
Oh, wow.
She was terrible. And she has a whole street named after her. We need to address these things. We need to correct those things. I put it
As
out there.
somebody said, it's not when we are trying to eradicate history. You can't do that. We have to read history, understand history and all of that. But we must understand who these people were, what they contributed and what they didn't contribute, right? And really and truly, it's to give the spotlight to the persons who made the real contribution,
Yeah.
our national icons,
Yeah.
and give the spotlight to them. So we don't continue to walk around calling about, Lady Young Road. Who is Lady Young?
Yeah.
Bryson Road.
Terrible
Bryson
lady.
Road. Not somebody we want to remember at all, right?
No.
As a matter of fact, somebody we want to forget.
Yes, absolutely. Listen, you have some WhatsApp.
We have some
people.
more messages here.
Yes.
Someone says, Uncle Brother, very interesting interview. We need people like that now. Fighters. We need some fighters now. And our legal mind, Wendy Hazelholder, she said, good morning. Educational interview. I am enjoying it. I believe we have Ranjit Kumar Street in St. James as well.
Yes.
So, yes, you're going to head to the phone lines?
We want to take one more phone call because we have to wind up.
Yes. So
Yes, one more
final
phone.
call.
Good morning.
Good morning,
morning.
welcome. Yes.
This is number 103.
Yes.
I remember the time of Mr. Ranjit Kumar. He was a good politician. Time of Albert Gomes and the like. So very, I enjoyed the program this morning.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Number
Mr.
103.
Thank you very much. That's our listener. For your information, Catherine and Margaret, he's 103 years old. So that's our listener who's 103 years old calling. And he says he remembers you.
That's why he says 103.
Yes.
I thought it
Yes.
was Radio 103.
No.
Oh, yeah, he would know. He would know, Daddy. Yeah.
Yes,
Wow.
yes. Any closing comments? We have 3 minutes before we head to the shakedown or shake up, whatever it's called, right after us.
Learn the name, learn the correct name. Thank you.
Any closing comments from you, Margaret?
Yeah. Margaret.
Yeah, we're thankful to God for our father and our mother, as I guess most people are. But we're thankful for what he has instilled in us and his impact on us, particularly his focus on education, his focus on being upright and hardworking to be able to give back to community. It's something you can never take for granted, but that, I think, is the legacy is left in us.
Thank you very much, Dr. Margaret Bernard. And to you, Catherine.
And I would probably wrap up by thanking everyone. Thanking you, Errol, for inviting Margaret and I to the program. Thank you, Radio Isaac, for having us on. Like I said, we need, more of these kinds of programs so that, the rest of Trinidad and Tobago can learn a little more about our icons in Trinidad and Tobago. And also probably just to be able to say, we spoke about 9 of us, but it's really 15 of us that Daddy, brought into this world. And as Margaret said, 9 of us have all been successful. So have all the 6 been. Mainly in the UK, they are. One is in Switzerland. But, they have all been very, very successful also. So, for somebody to bring 15 children into the world who are all very successful, have achieved, and, that really is a really great legacy to leave behind. And I'm thankful for having him as my father, thankful for having my mother, my parents. I cannot ask for better parents. And, we still think of Daddy. He's gone. He died quite a while now, 1982. But you still think about him and remember him. And even as you read different things, you say, "My gosh, I didn't even know that." So even up to now, we still learning stuff as they were doing the book, and they had to do research and go to UE and get research papers from the newspapers and all of that. We were learning little things that we didn't even know. So there's just still so much more behind the man. I'm sure, Margaret, we could probably write another book on other aspects of his life,
Catherine, before you leave, my wife would not forgive me. I have not asked you your mother's name.
Oh, yeah, that's true. So my mother's name is Grace Offord Kumar. She also comes from a family of nine. So she's from a big family, and therefore that's, all of that is where all the values of sharing and so comes in. And Mommy died in 10 years now. Mommy died in 2011. So she lived a good while after Daddy died. Well, Mommy was very much younger than Daddy, actually, right? So she lived a long while after, but so thankful for her. She's an angel. She's in heaven for sure. There's no doubt about that. She's in heaven right now. And she's probably listening to us talk right now. Yes.
I really enjoyed this morning, and I want to thank you, girls. Hear me now? Thank you, girls, for joining
girls.
us.
We are always girls.
It's been good to have you here in the Legacy series. Thank you very much. God bless.
Thank you. Thank you again. Thank you to everyone. Have a blessed day and all the best. A Holy Christmas.
Thank you. God
bless you. Very interesting interview.
Very interesting interview.
No, actually, my sister Claudia Joseph, she works at the Chamber of Commerce. So Catherine was her former boss, right? So
I know Claudia well.
You know Claudia well?
Of course, so she would be.
yes. So God bless you richly.
The air?
You're now going to be
Yes,
off
sir.
in a few seconds. So God bless you richly. Have a great day.
Oh.
God bless you.
Yeah.
You know, we have to ask them to give us some more time and you know, just kind of get away from
You start.
because let me shake off the shakedown.
Hey, before I go any further, I just want to...
some lovely Thursday afternoon music today. Beautiful Thursday afternoon music.
No, we learned a lot there, boy.
Hey.
Legacy is important. And it's a true testament of vision. The vision that
Yeah.
father and a mother has for their
Yeah.
family
And
is
young
very important.
people.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I was taking my notes, and I'm really thankful for this interview today. I know
Yeah,
many people
praise
were
God.
inspired. Now, we want to send a shout out as well to somebody who will be 105 years old. That is also a big thing.
Hush him out.
Yeah.
105, you see?
100. So that's the mother of Mrs. Valerie Davis, who actually celebrated her birthday on Thursday. She was 105, and guess her name is Sylvia Nora Moon.
But Nora is a good name.
Sylvia Nora Moon. So
Sylvia
happy birthday,
Nora Moon.
105. 105. So it's about that time for us to say our goodbyes.
Yes, well, you know, in keeping with my quest to, you know,
We not
create.
all the writing on that paper is your goodbye.
Yes,
That's what you're trying to
yes.
say.
I have a reg, and yes.
That is
And this is a
plenty.
studied approach.
Let's hear it, let's hear it.
This is a studied approach to saying goodbye, because you can't just say goodbye without, you know, causing people to understand the heartfelt passion that you have.
Do you sure we have time for all those
So
words?
let me just say it right now. Gone.
Hey, we had a bottle of laughter, but we have to go and shoot. So as always, I want to send blessings to my parents, Cuthbert Joseph the Bishop, and his beautiful wife, my mom, Celine. Love you guys so much. My beautiful, hardworking wife, Avanel Hector Joseph. Love you plenty. It's been a season, boy, but God is good.
God.
And we
God
continue
is
to
good.
stand and believe in the sovereignty of God. Our beautiful daughter Imara and our handsome son Amani Christoph could not do it without you guys. As always, want to let you know, don't package your dream to fit within your budget, and broken crayons can still color. It matters not the trauma that you've been through, no. Keep coloring, all right?
Yeah.
Keep coloring.
Keep coloring.
DJ Mickey's up
and
next.
Zion on Park Street is now in some really nice colors.
There's some nice colors.
Yes. Good morning to the ladies at Zion. Mickey, I'm sure you will tell them so later on.
Definitely.
And my friends at the Living Water community. Would you also say hello to them? Yes?
Do we have to say hello to our producer?
Yes, our producer, Tiffany, thank you for the technical support here this morning. Hope to see you next week, because it's going to be bacchanal time here next week. That's all I say.
Bye-bye. We go. Bye-bye.
We got what you want. We got what you need for your family. 9-8 on the promise.
In a world where radio stations are many, there is only one that caters for the entire family.